Hello, hello, hello. Welcome to the Intuitive Knowledge Podcast. I'm Gurpreet Kaur. And before we continue, please forgive any noises that you're going to hear around what's going on outside. This isn't how my podcast was meant to begin. But clearly God has other plans. So we're just going to go with it. Any noises you hear, so sorry, out of my control. Welcome to the Intuitive Knowledge Podcast, where we help you find your faith, where we help you switch your perspective, and where we help you transform your mindset. I know this stuff works because it has changed my life. 5 years ago today, I had a conversation that completely changed my life. As we go through the podcast, you will know loads more about me. But 5 years ago today, I had a conversation with my brother where I told him that after 15 years of being on antidepressants, of at least 15 years of depression, after multiple miscarriages and a hysterectomy, I told my brother that I was losing the will to live, that actually I couldn't do this life thing much longer. And my brother, being my brother who knows me superbly well, knew how to change that. And it wasn't the arm around the shoulder, it was a swift pattern interrupt of, what the hell are you talking about? Well, actually there was a swear word, but we won't use that. What the F are you talking about that you can't do this life thing much longer? When was the last time you said thank you? And I was really in victim mode at this point, like, thank you? Have you not seen how much I've been through? And he was just like, quite incredulous actually. He was just like, I don't care what you've been through. I want to know when the last time you said thank you for all the things that you have in your world. When was the last time you said thank you? And honestly, I couldn't remember. I knew I'd started to say thank you that year because I was beginning to really feel not myself, but nothing with any great intention. And he then proceeded to have a conversation with me about God, the universe, universal principles, scriptures. He spoke to me about the Sikh faith. He just spoke to me about God, is what he did. He spoke to me about neuroscience and metaphysical science. And he told me about a growth mindset. I'd never heard of that before. A growth mindset? What is that? And that conversation lasted for over 12 hours. That conversation saved my life. So the most fundamental things that we spoke about that day are the very things that I am wanting to share with you to help transform you and where you're at, if that's what you need. Because I'm assuming if you're here, that's what you're after. So I want to share with you the things that he shared with me and the fundamentals that I began that night that you can start implementing right now today are gratitude, having faith, and meditation. Those three things are possibly the most important things you're going to do. That's what I did. I started saying thank you that night. In fact, that very moment I spoke to my husband. I rang my husband straight away and told him I'm back and I'm so grateful for him. I started meditating that night. And I started to believe that God was real and that God had my back and that I had been speaking my life into existence. And I'm going to share with you as we go on through this podcast, through however we carry on our journey together, I'm going to share with you what I've learned, my trials, my tribulations, the challenges, the lessons, the times I didn't do what I was meant to do, all of those things. I'm going to share them all with you And this is going to be my way of live journaling with you so that you can also apply to your life what I've applied over the last 5, what I'm going to continue to apply for the rest of my life, and what we can learn together. So that's what this space is about. I want to talk a little bit about what I mean by switching perspective, what I mean by transforming your mindset, what I mean by finding faith. So let's start with the faith thing first. Faith for me is the understanding, and as we go through the podcast and anytime we work together, you'll know exactly what I'm talking about. But faith for me is the understanding that I didn't create myself, that there is something that created me from nothing. Faith for me is understanding that I have an abundance of clean, fresh air, and I get to take breath. I don't have to ask for it, it just comes. And faith for me is the fact that I don't have to ask the sun to shine, it just does it. I don't have to ask the stars to start twinkling at night, they just do it. And so if there is something that does all of that, and that something also created me, I'm choosing to believe in that something. I really am. So that for me is faith. Faith is what allows me to not stress about the fact that my podcast isn't exactly how I thought it was going to be. Faith for me is being able to cope with the fact that things don't go according to your plans 100%, like lawnmowers going or neighbours having a party or whatever else. Or when technology doesn't work. It is what it is. But when you have faith, you walk by faith, not by sight. You're not stressed by these are small things in the grand scheme of things. And so that's what faith allows me to do. And that's what I'm hoping that you'll get from here, from this right here. You'll be able to go through your life and know that the inevitable challenges that you're going to face in your life, because we all do, those challenges, you're gonna have an armor for those challenges. You're gonna have your faith. You're gonna have the understanding of how your mind works and how your brain works, and that your brain is actually neuroplastic, which means that it can change. You can remold it, you can reshape it, you can do these things. So, that's not like you have connections in your brain that you can connect and disconnect and reconnect, but we'll get onto that. So that's what I mean by faith. Faith allows you to transcend anything because you know you're guided by the Most High. And why wouldn't you want to go through life like that? Living life that way for the last 5 years has changed my world. And this week I'm coming off just watching miracle after miracle after miracle just emerge. And it emerges just through having faith and believing, just believing that God is real. What do I mean by switching perspective? Well, here's one of the biggest things that happened that day in the car. When we were talking, my brother and I, we spoke about how we both had stuff going on in our heads. We both had a story. He had a story, I had another story. And what I realized was my past experiences were making me feel a certain way, and that I'd been carrying those past experiences with me for decades. So those past experiences carrying with me for decades, and the brain can't tell the difference between real or imagined. Well, I was creating that reality. Anyway, I just want to put that out there, that I know now that I was creating my own reality. I'm well aware of that because I'm creating my own right now. But what I realized was that, wait, And this transpired over quite some months after, and actually is still transpiring, because you can apply it to areas of your life throughout the rest of your life. And that's why I know this stuff is incredible. But the perspective shift that happened for me was that, wait, if I've got a story for why I am the way I am, if I have a story for why I feel the way I do, if I have my own reasons for why I feel angry at people or hurt by people, and if I have my reasons for that spilling out onto other people, that sometimes I'm angry, sometimes I'm sad, sometimes I'm a jerk, if I have a story that justifies to me why I behave that way, then so does everybody else that I perceive to have hurt me. So does everybody else that is going through life not knowing any better. Not an easy thing to do. It doesn't absolve them, it absolves you of carrying the stuff around. But I'm also well aware that I've screwed up quite a bit in the past. Which means if I've screwed up quite a bit in the past, and now I know better, I know that I will do better. Because when we know better, we do better. This is about raising our levels of awareness and raising our levels of consciousness. So that really helped me to release some of the guilt that I was carrying, some of the shame I was carrying, some of the anger that I was carrying. It really helped me transform that. And it wasn't overnight. It's been an ongoing process since, and it's not going to stop. It's not going to stop. And I don't want it to stop. I want to transform my life. I want to see how far I can go and how much of my potential I can activate, because why not? What's the alternative? And so transforming the mindset. So let me tell you, I was a high school dropout, so I thought that I was too dumb to do anything, if I'm really honest. Too dumb to do anything, although people used to tell me I was smart, and I just never used to believe them nor listen to them. But we do what we know as we know it. But I never thought that I was smart. I never thought I understood things. And I constantly told myself I wasn't. Things just didn't enter my brain. And when I was saying this to my brother, he spoke to me about a growth mindset. And he was like, that is a limiting belief you hold. And that's a pattern that you've constructed in your brain. So that's not true. And that a growth mindset is beyond the I can't, I don't, I'm not able to. A growth mindset is finding all the reasons for why you can. A growth mindset is taking in all the other resources into account. Faith, support, information, action, clarity, all of these things. So that's what we're going to do here. We're going to talk about a growth mindset here. We're going to talk about how to use this stuff in your life for the rest of your life. And here's the thing. If you begin now, where are you going to be in 5 years' time? I couldn't have dreamed of being where I'm at right now. I couldn't have written this into my own story, which in a weird way, I have been scripting my life for the last 5 years. But again, we're going to talk about all of this. We're going to talk about all of this and understand the power of word, the power of thought, the frequencies of the world. We're going to talk about it all. We're going to talk about emotional detachment. We're going to talk about it all. But what I most importantly want you to go away with is the understanding that if I can do it, I know anyone can. Because I know those hellish days that I was in, those days where I couldn't sleep. I was so scared to go to sleep because I was scared to wake up in a wet, sweaty panic that I would have to get up and do it all over again, that I was losing the grip and the mask that you put on, not these plastic things, but the actual mask that you wear in your life to be as though you're normal and everything's okay, and you're not struggling to hold it together. You're not fighting to live a life that you don't want to live. You're not fighting to stay alive. No, you don't let people know that. And the worry and the pressure of that would wake me up in a blind panic. That lack of sleep and the anger from years ago and the depression that you can't stuff down anymore, so it's spilling out onto your loved ones, and you can't help yourself but tell your co-worker that she is irritating you a little bit because you can't hold it together. When you feel like there isn't anything else left to live for, when you feel like you're the problem in the room, when you feel like you're an imposter, when you just feel like the misfit, when you were always told you were the black sheep. Yeah, all of those things that constantly, if I know that I can get through that by doing these few things, I know anyone can. And so my work is about you knowing that. It's so simple for me. Know, my friend, know that you're worthy, know that you're good enough, and know that if you're here, it's because you've been asking the questions. So that's me, that's why I'm here. I cannot wait to share this stuff with you. I simply cannot. Talking about simply, today we launched our landing page for the Simpler Method, which is my signature foundation course that helps you begin your journey into personal development, into self-improvement, into finding faith, shifting your perspective and transforming your mindset. That's what it's about. So Simpler is an acronym for spiritual practice, intentional living, mind mastery, your physical world, love, emotional conditioning, and a routine. The value of all of those things put together is transformative. And so there's details up on, I'll actually pop them down in the description, but the website's up. We've actually got an early bird price for the month of September 2020. So really do go check that out. We have my private coaching coming. We have lots of stuff coming. If you want to know more about what's happening with me, check out intuitive.knowledge on Instagram, where there will be everything you need to know about what we're doing. And it's the place I'm most active. So if you haven't already, begin a meditation practice. If you haven't already, and here's the thing about meditation, people think meditation is about stopping your thoughts and not thinking about anything. No, it's about not being consumed by your thoughts. It's like the blue sky and letting your thoughts pass like clouds. Just acknowledging them and letting them go. And there's loads of great apps about meditation as well, so check that out. I'm a mantra girl myself. I love me a good mantra, I really do. And a gratitude practice. Every day, 5 things in the morning, 5 things in the evening, 5 things at lunchtime, 5 things when Becky at work ticks you off. Just gratitude. And we're going to talk more about that in episode 1, why gratitude is so life-affirming, soul-affirming, life-changing. So yeah, I really hope you'll join me every Saturday on a podcast here. Don't know how we're going to figure Instagram will tell you, but we are going to, I personally think it's going to be YouTube lives. That's what I think I'm going to do. But YouTube today had different ideas. So I'm going to be available everywhere where all great podcasts are. You will find all the information you need on my Instagram page. So I look forward to being on this journey with you as we learn together, because my friends, I'm nowhere near done. this is just the beginning for me. It's just the beginning for you. This is a lifelong process, and we get to do it. We don't have to do it. We get to do it and switch the perspective, and then it's become something completely different. So I'm really glad you were here. I'm so glad you watched this. Do the liking and the subscribing and all of that jazz. I look forward to speaking to you real soon. Thank you for being here.